So Scheffler, McIlroy 7-1, Rahm 9-1. Those three, who would be your pick?
So I think Scheffler deserves to be the favorite. I'm going to go with Jon Rahm, though. I just think he's kind of been out of sight, out of mind. He had to withdraw from the Players. Didn't play his best at match play, but that's kind of we know it's a volatile format. But go back a month, and everyone thought Jon Rahm was the best player in the world. We know how hard it is to win back-to-back Masters. I think only like 2 or 3 guys have done it. Tiger being one of them, obviously. But it's going to be tough for Scheffler to do that. So I'm going to go Rahm here. To me, Rahm and Scheffler are like a tier above Rory. And it's not saying Rory doesn't have a great chance, because he does, but to me, it's like Scheffler and Rahm, and then Rory is kind of the clear third guy.
Yeah, I mean, if I think let's see, one of the other trends I had on there was it Tiger was the only player, if you look at it, that it was a combination of Players and Masters. In 2001, the only player to win both the Players and the Masters in the same year. Now, he did it in consecutive events over 3 weeks, because that was Tiger. It's interesting because you just mentioned Tiger's the last player to defend. Scottie Scheffler just won the Players. So could he break?
It would be unbelievable if Scheffler
could he do that?
Can pull that off.
Could he be?
It'd be
another Players, Masters champ, and defending champ in the same year.
And then Tiger, Nick Faldo, and Jack Nicklaus are the only 3 to go back-to-back at the Masters.
Yeah, see, that's why I was like, look, if he does it, that's just awesome, but it's tough, so tough. Rory, the whole thing with Rory is this happens all the time, and this is the problem with I just think that with Rory, especially when you get him here at the Masters, and I said this early in the year that I was thinking I was targeting the Masters, but I wasn't targeting the Masters thinking that he's almost going to be the favorite. And it's like, the reason is not because people think he's the best player in the world. It's because they think he's going to get a green jacket, and they just think, as they do every year, this has got to be the year. And so extra money gets pushed on Rory and the predictions on Rory, and all of a sudden he's sitting there as like the favorite when he shouldn't be the favorite. Obviously, Scheffler and Rahm have played better than Rory this year, and yet Rory could go off as the favorite.
It's crazy. And the crazy thing with Rory, too, is like you look at his Masters history, and it's awesome, including the second place finish last year. But like, when's the last time he was really in contention and you thought he had a chance to win on Sunday? It's been a handful of years. Like, he came in second last year. He never had a chance to win that thing on Sunday. So I feel like his final results are a little misleading. Not to say he hasn't been good here, because he has, but I don't think he's been quite as good as you might think just looking at his his final finishes.
Agreed. So yeah, I mean, look, to me it's tough, but I actually think that this is why I think it's possible. I'm going to say probable, because look, if I really like one of these players, I might just go, hey, you know what? Even on our picks, I might just go, all right, I'm going to put like almost all my money on one guy. I just really think, because I liked Scheffler last year when he won. I hit Scheffler. I really liked him. Perfect. But I just think, again, Scheffler winning back-to-back tough. Rahm not playing like he did earlier 6 weeks ago. McIlroy, all of that pressure. I think this could be one of those years where, hey, they're all 7-1, 8-1, 9-1. I think those guys might not do it this year. Let's go with the another group. So I think that's very possible. So let's go with that one of the next groups, and we'll go with Spieth, Cantlay, and I'm going to throw Jason Day in here. Spieth, Cantlay, and Jason Day. If you had to pick one of those players, and by the way, I made sure that any of these players, these choices, did not have any of your picks on them. So Cantlay, Day, Spieth.
That's going to be Spieth for me. Just Spieth in good form, and with his Masters history, like he's. I'm not betting him this week. The number is too low, but he scares me. It's like Scheffler, then probably even like Spieth scares me more than Rahm, even just as someone I'm not betting. I just I would not be shocked. I expect him to be in the mix on Sunday, and yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if he wins.
You know what it is too? Is because even though he may be wayward a little bit, like we saw at what was it, Valspar,
Yep, Valspar.
that it's a little bit more forgiving at Augusta.
A lot more
Yeah,
forgiving.
which is why Mickelson's had so much success here. So,
Yep.
yeah, as good as Speed's playing, if that's his only, even though the putting, again, you have to putt well at Augusta. And that's been the thing that has not worked out for him. That's part of the reason that he hasn't won yet this year. But it only takes that one event. Maybe if he gets rolling on Thursday, then that's really because I look and you talk about maybe this is a good time to bring this up. And I mentioned it, teased it several times when we go over these round by round trends. You do not want to get behind early at the Masters. The last 17 winners began the second round inside the top 12. 12. That's nothing. Top 12.
Second round too. Like that's
yeah, one round. I can't be 13th after one round. Since 85, only 3 round one leaders went on to win. Okay, so even though that's important, leading is not. You don't have to lead, just be in the top 12. And since the first Masters in 1934, only 5 winners ended their first round outside the top 20. No player has ever won the Masters in 34th or higher position following the first round. The player who won with the worst first round position was, of course, Tiger, 33rd in 2005, 7 strokes back. Faldo in 90 shared the record of strokes behind after round 1 with 7 as well. And only one winner in the last 17 ended round 1 more than 4 strokes back. So you can't get behind more than 4 strokes back in the first round or you're in trouble. How crazy is that?
That was Justin Thomas last year, by the way, too. Because he was my big bet at the Masters last year, and he got off to such a bad start on Thursday. He ended up coming like top 10. If he hadn't got such a bad start, he probably would have won this thing. But speaking of Spieth and getting off to hot starts, I think I might. I don't usually bet first round leader, but I might just because it's the Masters. I saw Spieth 25-1 to be first round leader. That's about I'd be more interested in making than him to win it 16-1 or 18-1 or whatever he is.
Okay. Yeah, that's a tough one. And the reason is because I have both of those guys on my list, Day and Spieth. So I didn't think I was going to go with Spieth because the odds were low. I wanted Spieth to be more like 18 minimum, if not 20, like that with the other group of 20s.
Exactly. That's where he should be, I think.
But then I was like, yeah, but as I started to dwindle down my trends and I started to go over who do I really think, man, that list started getting really small. And I was like, yeah, Spieth's got to be one of them. And so, yeah, I had to put him in there. All right. Justin Thomas, Max Homa, or Tony Finau. You're going to take Finau, aren't you?
I am going to go Finau. Homa's a tough one. Like, recent form, he's top 5 in the world. Course history, he's horrible. I do expect him to play better.
He better.
I think he'll be top 20. We'll see if he
needs
do
that.
better.
He needs a top 20 at the Masters.
And Thomas is the guy where if Thomas wins this, I'm gonna be killing myself because I bet him the past 2 years now.
Oh, have you?
It's a perfect course fit for him. He gets wild off the tee. That doesn't matter as much here. He has everything else. He's an elite iron player. Well, he was an elite iron player. That's kind of my issue with him is his game has tailed off this season. That's why I have not
That's the
bet him
problem
this year because he's not at his peak form right now. But I do think Augusta's a perfect course for him. He has the short game. Putting's always the issue with him, but he has the experience here. You think he'd figure out these greens by now. But I'm not on Thomas. But I have been the last 2 years. So
yeah, I actually, as I was saying before, at one and dones, there were 2 guys that I was thinking of taking that I already picked. They were Spieth and Thomas. I seriously would have probably looked at, and I don't know, maybe I would have taken one of them over Day, but those were 2 of the guys that I was looking at, Spieth and Justin Thomas, because the other thing too is and this is why this is important with Thomas, it's more important that you have the course history, a positive course history at Augusta, as opposed to being in form. You don't have to worry about being in form. You know, the players have won here before that have not been in form. Even Matsuyama a couple of years ago was not playing well all that much. Yep. He comes in, he wins, shocks everybody. So that's why I think Justin Thomas fits that perfectly. He's not playing all that great. Maybe this would be the year he actually wins it. So, all right. Now we're gonna go to the Live Boys. DJ Koepka or Cam Smith? Now, this should have been easy after Koepka's win, but now not so easy. Is it still Cam Smith or DJ or who?
It's still Cam Smith to me. I think at this point in their careers, he's the best player among those three. And I also think, DJ has a good course history here too, and Brooks has been okay. I think
Brooks has got a runner-up.
Well, yeah, I mean, Cam Smith's course history is
excellent,
is awesome. Yeah. And again, I think it's a good fit for him too, with the kind of creativity you need and the short game you need. That's Cam Smith, so he'd be my pick among those three.
Okay, Young, Zalatoris, or Burns. So you kind of you're really done on Zalatoris for now.
I hate it. Yeah, I am. It's not the putting. We've talked about it. I think he's still working through, and I'm not even sure it's the back. I think it's he talked about he had to change his swing because of the back injury. I think it's the swing change that's still holding him back. He's just not at peak Zalatoris form. The course history here is unbelievable. He's putted awesome here for whatever reason in his 2 trips. I said Cam Young's not gonna win, but I'm gonna go Cam Young among those 3. He's a good fit. He's one of the, if not the longest player on tour right now.
I'm surprised that he struggled so much last year.
Yeah, and it's one go around. We talked guys struggled their first time at Augusta, so I think eventually he will be good here, and it would not shock me if that starts this year.
Zalatoris could be an interesting play because he's 35-1 now.
Yeah, I think he's going to drift even. He might be 50-1 by Wednesday rolls around, because
I'll put a buck or two on him if he's 50-1.
Yeah, it would take a lot of self restraint for me not to.
I mean, why not? I mean, it's 1 week.
Yeah,
that's it. Just 1 week. Yep. You go to a golf course that you just love, that just fits your game.
Yep.
And it's not like he's been like 6 missed cuts coming in. He's had a couple of moments.
He hasn't been horrible. No. I'm looking at the numbers now. He hasn't been horrible. It's just it's not where he was at this time a year ago.
But no doubt about that. All right. Hovland, Sungjae Im, or Matthew Fitzpatrick?
So Fitzpatrick is the cross out for me there, because I still think he's not healthy, or something's up with him. I'm going to go Sungjae, who was close to making my betting card. He's 35-1 right now. If he drifts to 40 or 45, I might end up adding him. But
same as me. This close to making my betting picks.
Really sneaky course history. I mean, he had the second on his debut. Now, that was the November Masters in 2020, but then he came back last year and finished 8th. I was actually watching. They were showing last year's final round on the Masters YouTube channel a couple nights ago. I was watching it, and Sungjae was, obviously it was Scheffler basically cruising to win, but Sungjae was like kind of there in that group to, kind of vying for second, third place. He played really well in that final round last year. I think it's a good spot for him. I do worry about if it gets too wet and it plays longer. He's not the longest player, so that wouldn't help him. So hopefully the weather improves a bit if you're betting on Sungjae.
Look, I'm gonna say this, and I probably say it every year. It's not fair, but it's just the facts. And it's the same thing that all of the sports world went through for a couple of years under COVID. And the golf is no different. When Dustin won it, he wins it in November. And he did it. And that was the one that no one was there. Was that correct?
Yes. If people were there, it was very limited.
Because one of them was no one there. When Matsuyama won it, it was one of the two, because one of them, it was no one. The other one was barely anybody. Just a little. So bottom line for me, You take the crowd out at Augusta at a major, and the pressure is a lot easier, and it comes off of you. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
it's not. It's not the same. It's just not. So
Agreed. And the course played way different being in November.
well, for the November one, correct. So yeah,
Yep.
for me, when you don't have the crowd there for those 2 years, not the same. Rose, Hatton, Lowry.
Yeah, I like them all as like, I don't think any of these three are going to win, but I like them all as, like top 10, top 20 plays if you're into that stuff. I'm going to go Justin Rose there, though, who has a win earlier this season and has a long and excellent course history at Augusta. So he'd be my pick among those three.
Yeah, I said last week. I mean, I really thought Rose would have won one by now. The fact that he won earlier this year, it's a great sign that maybe he's got a big win in him. And this is an event. Matter of fact, I believe he's been the first round leader a couple times. He was very like, oh, Justin Rose is leading another Masters kind of thing. And then he would always crater on Friday.
Yeah. He shot a 65 round one in 2021. He was the first round leader by 4 strokes.
Yeah, so he's probably led there 2 to 3 times in his career. So you're talking about a first round leader. There you go.
Yep.
Justin Rose would not be a bad idea. Tom Kim, Sahith Theegala, and Mito Perez. And what do all 3 of these have in common?
Debutantes.
There you go. Which one would you go with?
Man, I still think Tom Kim is the best player among those 3, but I think it's the worst course fit for him because he's on the short side. I'm gonna go Mito.
Mito, yes.
Who obviously almost won the PGA Championship,
and he obviously was never on that golf course.
Right. Yep. And did he has? Oh yeah, these are all the debutants. He has not played the Masters. I was going to say, but yeah, I'll go Mito there.
And then the last one, and this should be a fun one, and maybe this is just all about. You wonder if all 3 of these guys can make the cut. I think they can, because every year in the Masters, you're going to see a guy that's usually like 60 years old, 70 years old that makes the cut. Like Sandy Lyle, one of the Couples was really infamous for like hanging around even until the weekend just about 5 years ago. But Tiger, Phil, or Bubba?
Not Phil. He hasn't been good on live even.
It's Augusta though.
I'll go Tiger. I mean, they all have good course history here. I'll go Tiger. I think he'll get off to a solid start like he did last year. The issue is he kind of fades over the weekend because his body just kind of wears down. But I think he'll play well enough early.
Yes.
Yeah, I think he'll play well enough early to beat out those other 2.
Okay. Now, before we finalize our analysis of each player and then give our picks as we go along, we're going to start from the back, meaning I'm going to ask you which and we both have in our weekly picks, we both have to take a player that is over 100 to 1. So that's already part of our picks that we'll get into a little bit later on, and I'll put them on the screen here in just a little bit. So we're not going to count those guys, those 2. So let's go over any other player from 100 to 1 or more that now could be $3, $5, $7. You're going to spread around a buck on several players, not the player that you've already used for your pick. Which ones would you do?
I think Tom Hoagie's interesting at 100 to 1 just because we've talked about him in this show a few times. He is truly like one of the 10 best iron players in the world. Now, the other parts of his game aren't awesome, but if he has one of those incredible iron weeks, that can
39th last year in his first appearance, which is not all that bad.
Yep. How about Danny Willett at 130 to 1, former winner?
My boy, Danny Willett
playing pretty well. And I think if it gets sloppy, if it is wet and windy, that would probably help his chances. So I think Willett at 130 is worth a look.
By the way, he's playing better than he was last year. Last year he finished 12th.
Yep.
So Anyone else?
Kurt Kitayama.
Kurt Kitayama, who I just picked up
He's
on my fantasy team last week, as you saw.
He's long. He's long off the tee, and he just won Bay Hill against a field stronger than this one.
Also,
so I think he's interesting.
First timer.
Yeah, so that's the knock against him, right?
And maybe even Kirk, right? At 130 to 1.
Yeah. I mean, I worry about the distance for him, but like we said, he's playing awesome, and the irons are good. The short game, his short game was unbelievable last week. I mean, I had him in one and done, so I was watching him closely. He didn't play super well, but the short game just kept bailing him out, and that's definitely useful at Augusta.
I'd probably put a buck myself on Francesco Molinari because he's 300 to 1. And he almost won here a few years ago.
Yep.
Yeah, those odds are just ridiculous. But I think you've pretty much gone over the
You know who's a crazy one? He's 300 to 1. Cameron Champ sucks everywhere except Augusta. He comes to his Augusta track record 19th, 26th, 10th.
Well,
10th last year, and he was playing horribly coming in. He's playing horribly coming in this week, but he obviously likes the course, and it doesn't make sense.
He's a bomber.
Exactly. Yeah. So 300 to 1.
That's why I'm surprised. And I know he hasn't played here too much, but I thought that Thomas Peters, because I picked him as a long shot last year, and he missed the cut. He was terrible. But he actually finished 4th in his first appearance in 2017. And he has played better the last couple of years because he got off to that good start, that 4th place. So everybody thought, hey, look out. Disappeared for a few years. The last couple of years have been pretty good for Thomas Peters. So maybe he does also be somebody to keep an eye on. What is he, like 130 to 1, something like that? All right. Yep. So those are the long shots. Now, let's go with our picks. And we're going to start with, I said Spieth because he's the lowest one on the board at 16 to 1 as far as our picks. So he's my top pick. And then the next two players are yours. 22 to 1 and 25 to 1. So I'm going to also, where are the picks? I'm going to shoot the picks up. So we're going to start with your top pick, Xander Schauffele. And I can look at Schauffele has got those 2 top 5s and the runner-up. Yep. So, but he also has a miscut last year and a 50th. With Schauffele, man, there are several players that are good players that I don't know whether or not they've got and Schauffele's one of them. Cantlay's the other.
Yep. Best buddies too, those two.
Maybe that's not a surprise. Those are the 2 guys that are within that, top 7 on the board that I just can't do it, even though Schauffele's got the good history. Cantlay doesn't really have a good history there, but Schauffele's got so why are you rolling the dice that Schauffele could be the guy this year?
Yeah, this isn't a numbers thing, but I still do believe in him. I think he's gonna win a major, at least one. I think the Masters is a good spot for him. You mentioned the thing here is that missed cut last year. I know that was one of your trends. A guy hasn't won in a long time that missed the cut at the Masters the previous year. So Schauffele would be a bit of a trend buster if he wins. But
no, actually, like you said, the miscut was the miscut the previous event.
I thought I saw a trend somewhere too, though, that it's been a while since someone missed the cut the year prior at the Masters. I don't have it in front of me, but I think I saw that.
That would make sense.
But yeah, I mean, 2nd, 17th, and 3rd in his 3 Masters prior to last year. He had gained in 6 straight rounds, gained strokes to the field in 6 straight rounds, and 10 of his last 11 rounds at Augusta prior to last year. So the course history really is strong. Good recent form. Schauffele's 8th in this field in strokes gained total in the last 3 months. So doesn't quite make that cutoff I talked about with the 1.9 strokes gained over the last 3 months, but he's super close. And again, I think it's a good course fit for him. The 2 things I want to see from players this week, good on those long par 4s. Schauffele is 7th best in this field on those par 4s between 450 and 500. Okay. And then par 5 scoring. I think you've got to score on the par 5s. Schauffele is the 11th best in this field in par 5 scoring over the last 12 months.
Yeah, he. And the funny thing is I remember when he came out, like what was it, 5 years ago, something like that, 4 years ago.
Probably more than that even.
I mean,
Yeah.
when he came out, like when he actually started competing and playing
Yep.
well, it was like, who is this guy? He did not have some great college career. He was just a regular player that just came from nowhere and almost instantly played really top golf. And it was just so surprising. It just shows you, you just never know. All right. Your next guy, this is the guy that I almost, I might have had him in my picks. It's possible if you didn't take him. That's Colin Morikawa. He's played here 3 times and has improved each time he's played, including 5th last year. So if that trend continues, he's going to be dangerous this week. The only thing with Morikawa, kind of, Shoffley's kind of in that. I don't really. The match play is it's a little different kind of animal, but
Mm-hmm.
both players kind of played better once the season started. But the last 4 to 6 weeks, they've kind of cooled off a little bit. Especially Morikawa. He only has one top 10 in his last 5 with 2 missed cuts. But again, like I was saying with Justin Thomas, don't have to be playing great going in. And this apparently is a golf course that he just keeps getting better at every time
Yeah.
he gets out there.
Yeah, that's what I like, the upward trend on Morikawa at Augusta. You look at the round by round stuff for him at Augusta. Morikawa lost strokes to the field in 2 of his first 4 rounds here. He's gained in 7 of his last 8 now. And he's talked about it. I saw an interview with him pretty recently how he hits the fade off the tee and with his irons. And generally you want to, if you're a righty, you want to be hitting draws at Augusta. But he kind of talked about how that first start he tried to play a different game. He tried to hit draws here. And he's learned since that he can play his game. He can hit his fade and still succeed here. So I think that's what he's done in those last 2 tries where he's come 18th and 5th. The best iron player in the world, and the stats back that up. He's first in strokes gained approach over the last 12 months. And yeah, like you said, he's cooled off a little lately, but still, you look at the last 3 months, he's 7th in this field in strokes gained total and 2nd tee to green. Now, I do want to watch the weather for Morikawa because wind and rain would not be good for him. He's not a good wind player, and again, the rain would make it tougher on a quote unquote shorter hitter like Morikawa. So hopefully that the forecast gets a bit better. But I do think 25-1 is a good number for him.
Okay. Next up, odds wise, would be my pick, and this is the one that has come from completely nowhere, and that's because he like we said just a few minutes ago, hey, he won last week. That's Koepka. I'm going to go ahead and put him on there. Reason I'm doing it is because, yes, he won, which is a good sign. Get his game going. Because the thing with Koepka is, as we know, it's sort of like Morikawa. It's like he's just a major machine in his career. That's all Brooks Koepka basically played for in his career, was to win majors. And we've completely dismissed these live guys for a while. And Koepka has the runner-up in 2019. You would have thought with his power game that this would fit him perfectly, this golf course. It's not that he's been awesome here over his career. He missed a cut last year and actually the last 2 years. So that's not good. But before that, he had 3 top 15s and 5 and the runner-up in 19 when he was on top of his game. That's why I'm saying last week he got the win. I wouldn't have taken him if he didn't win. So he's got the win. All right, you know what? Nobody's kind of talking about Brooks Koepka. That, I don't know. I mean, again, that's the thing with these Live Tour players. We just don't have any idea what these guys are doing. Like, that all they're doing is just preparing for the Masters. They're preparing for these major events. They don't care what they're doing over there. So, you know, that doesn't mean that it's going to translate. But I just figured, hey, you know what? Why not? It's definitely one in left field, but it's one of those where if he actually goes out there and all of a sudden gets off to a good start, I think people are going to be going, wow. I mean, I how did I forget about Brooks Koepka?
Yeah. Yeah, the live stuff is so fascinating. I can't wait to see how those guys play. I was watching the Cam Smith press conference this afternoon. He definitely seems motivated to like prove that these guys on live can still play. They're still serious about golf. So I have the top 10 strokes gain on the live tour this year. If you're interested in hearing it,
Sure.
I don't know how much we care because about the motivation, but Brooks is 8th on that list. This is strokes gain leaders in the Masters field from live guys, so it's not including all of them. It's guys in the field. But Dustin Johnson's 1, Mito Pereira is 2.
Hey, Mito.
Cam Smith is 3. Joaquin Niemann 4. Patrick Reed 5. 6 is Sergio. 7 is Gooch. 8th is Brooks. 9th is Kokrak, and 10th is Answer.
So really, the top.
So those are the guys.
Most of those guys are the guys we probably would figure. Is there anybody that's not in there that we wouldn't? That we're surprised? Those are the guys, right?
I think so. Yeah.
That just shows you they're not screwing around. They're still, they may not be winning, but again, that's the thing, is that they may not be winning, but that's not. Now, maybe once the major season's over, I have no idea what their schedule is like. I don't know if they've got a few events after the major season, but I would bet you that once that happens, and you probably see them gear up and they probably want to win more in those events. I don't think they care about winning there until the majors are over.
Yeah, sure.
So it's the same thing that we talk about when we would say on the PGA Tour, like when anybody would go to these events the week or two before. Oh, they're gearing up for the Masters. They're trying to get there. That's why they want a golf course that's similar to the Masters setup, because it's the same thing over there. All right, next up, we have 2 players at 40-1. I have one of them. It's my second pick. You have one of them. It's your third pick. We'll start with yours, Hideki Matsuyama. This surprised me. Yeah. Now, look, he's already got a win, so you're going for 2 green jackets from Matsuyama. He's made most of his cuts at Augusta. It's a really good golf course for Hideki. I guess it would just be like when he won it a couple of years ago, because it's not like he's on form.
Yeah, you talked about Brooks being someone who kind of came out of left field for you. Same deal with Hideki for me. He really was not on my radar until about 12 hours ago when I really started to dig into these numbers. I think he's playing better than
the results. Okay.
Yeah, he withdrew at match play. We wondered if it was a neck thing. I'm not concerned about the neck. He just played 4 rounds at Valero the week ahead of the Masters. If he was hurting, he would not have done that. He came 15th at Valero.
That's okay.
Prior, the week before match play, he came 5th at the Players. Yeah. He's gained off the tee and on approach in 4 straight events now. So I think he's playing sneaky well, and he has that awesome Masters history. 2021 win, 13th in 2020, 14th in 2022. He has top 10s in 2015 and 2016. He's been all over this leaderboard for the past 10 years now. So at 40-1, I think he's a pretty interesting shot to take.
Yeah, because it's happened pretty quickly, because really, at the beginning of the year, he wasn't playing well at all, including back-to-back missed cuts.
And that's why I wasn't considering him to start, but then I started to dig into his numbers, and again, I think he's kind of on form right now, actually, sneakily.
So, but again, value, the name of the game, at 40-1. Now, Jason Day's numbers, Jason Day. What was Jason Day's odds?
22, I think now.
Let's see, what were they? They were 22. Okay, 22-1. Yeah, because I skipped over Jason's. So Jason. Well, I already said I picked him anyways, my one and done. But the part of the reason I'm going with Jason is because of the fact that he's got the course history that we really like. He's playing incredibly well. In all events this year, all top 20s, every single one of them. 5 of those top 10s, 2 of those top 5. So he hasn't had a bad week. And that's important because of his health, which, by the way, was like half of the questions that he was talking about in his press conference today was about his health. And what I like is I kind of like the fact when I was hearing him talk about how it was a bummer that he didn't play last year. So I think that little extra motivation about not playing there last year, just going to a golf course that you love so much, that you've had success on before, you're playing great golf, you're back. I think that's just extra motivation for him to kind of maybe even relax a little bit because, hey, I'm here and I'm fun. I'm going to have some fun. So, yeah, I just think he's I think with him, though, just like any player that's going to win here, he's got to get off to a good start.
Yeah, he's one of the 4 players that checks all those 3 boxes I talked about. He's playing awesome, and he has the course history. 22-1 feels off just from where he's been. But I can't say it's a wrong number. I think he kind of deserves to be in that range at least.
Yeah, I 25-1. I think that's what I got him in my sports book. Now you got him. You took him what?
I got him at 60. He's on my card at 65-1. I bet that like 3 weeks ago.
So that's awesome.
Not gonna use it as a pick for this show, but he is on my card. So if he wins for you, I will be very happy.
Yeah, I put some big money on him this week. All right,
nice.
That's because I hit on our horse racing show. Our professional trainer. So this was the Arkansas Derby. And there was a horse that was on morning line was 30-1. And we were almost like ending going through, because it was an outside horse too. So we were kind of going through the motions almost. And all of a sudden he brings up this horse that's 30-1 and goes, he's going to run race of his life. He's not even going to be 30-1. He's going to be higher than that. I love this horse. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to throw him in my picks. I guarantee you that. Sure enough, I put money on him to win, but I put him with my top horse in an exacta. He went off at 50-1. He came in second with my first horse that came in first. I made, I think it was like about $300 just on betting about $15 on the race.
I wish I had watched that show.
Yeah. So that's the thing, that it helps having a trainer that's actually there that says, I love what I saw. You don't get that on a lot of other shows. Most guys are handicappers. They're good at what they do, like John Hardoon on my network, but it helps to have somebody that's actually physically there that sees how they play. But anyway, so I had that extra money. So I threw a few extra bucks on Jason Day. All right. So before we get to your long shots, I have 2 more players on my list. One of them you already know. Actually, both you know, because I talked about him last week. Justin Rose at 55-1. Again, as I said before, I really think that if he's going to win another major before his career's over, this is going to be it. He's made almost every cut here. He's only missed twice. 10 top 20s in 17 appearances. He's got 2 runner-ups. So he's got the win. And then Shane Lowry is one of my other picks at 60-1. And we talked about that last week. The fact that Shane in his last 3 trips here, better each time. 25th, 21st, 3rd last year. And he's got the major pedigree. So that's not something that would be too big for him. Now, let's go with our official long shots. Your official long shot at 130-1. You're going on the Live Tour for Mr. Abraham Answer.
Yeah, like I don't want to take a live guy. And listen, Cam Smith could have won. I wouldn't be shocked. But I don't want to take a live guy at 20-1. There's just still too much unknown for me. But 130-1.
I thought you were going to take Neiman this week.
Yeah, I gave him a look. His Masters history isn't as good as I thought it was. I know he had the good round 1 when he played with Tiger. That was last year, I think, right? That kind of stuck in my mind. But he hasn't been quite as good here as I thought. But yeah, Answer at 130. I just think it's too big of a number for Abraham Answer.
It is, yeah.
And he's trending in the wrong direction at the Masters. He came 13th on his debut here, 26th the next year. He did miss the cut last year, but overall, that's still a pretty nice course history. His live results have kind of been so-so, but who knows how much that means. Answer did win the Saudi International back in February. That was basically a live field plus Cam Young. Cam Young played in that one.
He held off Cam Young. That was like a battle all day.
So Answer is obviously playing pretty well right now. So I think 130-1, he's worth a shot.
And I went with an oldie, but somebody that I won with. I picked him the year he won the Masters many years ago. Adam Scott at 100-1. Because again, once you get to this level, like we talked about, it's not easy finding guys that you really like. But I figured I'm going to go with a guy that I know, sort of like going with Rose. I'm just going a couple of guys with long shots that just love the golf course, that are major champs, and that if you're going to take older players in majors, you're going to take them at Augusta.
Yes.
Out of any of the majors, this is the golf course to take the older guys. And so I figured, okay, Adam Scott loves the golf course. He's had some moments this year. It's been disappointing for the most part, which is the reason why. Matter of fact, I looked at it on what was, I think it was, my website on Bovada that I put money on. It was 150 to 1. So I thought that was extremely disrespectful for a past champion who's not playing that bad. So
I was just saying, I'm looking at his numbers, and I think he's playing a little better than the results. It's just like every tournament, there's like one facet of his game that's killing him. Like he putted horribly at Century. His driver was bad at Sony. His irons were horrible last time out at Players. But like everything else has been okay. So it's just like one facet of his game has been off. If he can, clean that up, like you said, he does have the experience here.
So let me ask you, out of the, let's see. Oh, that's right. I already have that. All right. So I tell you what. Let's before we're done here. Are there any other players, like if you had to pick a nondescript player, just somebody from really complete left field, that may be a good fantasy play this week?
Yeah. So like guys that pop up high in my model, one of them is Keith Mitchell.
Keith Mitchell.
I'll give you a few more. Let me just pull up Mitchell quick though. Yeah, he's a bomber. He's popped up a few times so far this season. He had the 5th at Genesis, the 4th.
Oh yeah, he got off to a really
Pebble
good start.
Beach. Yeah, and even his last two, 24th at API, 35th at Players, so not horrible results. And he does have one year of experience at the Masters. He came 43rd here on his debut back in 2019. So I think Mitchell is someone. You talked about fantasy. If you're playing like DraftKings, he's a cheap guy that you can throw in a lineup there.
All right, cool. And it is just amazing though how is Bryson DeChambeau like the biggest? Like
it's sad, really. I mean, I thought he was, going to be one of the greats. He was trending that way for a few years there. And then...
See, the thing with some of these players that have struggled and that are on the Live Tour, I just wonder about the whole financial part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but yes, there was that little moment that it just looked like, watch out. He's gonna be the next like great player for like 5 years, and he just disappeared like that.
Yep.
But then again, he disappeared. He went on the Live Tour.
We should mention Corey Connors, who
is
coming off the
Corey
win,
Connors.
And last 3 years at the Masters, 10th, 8th, and 6th.
Yes, he's gotten better every time he's played. Matter of fact, miscut, 46th, 10th, 8th, 6th. You can't have a better trend line than that. Everyone's better than the next one.
Yeah. Now, I'm not betting Corey Connors at
40 to 1.
That's
crazy.
40 to 1,
That's crazy.
But another guy for DraftKings, I think he's obviously a nice value play. One other guy that popped up for me is Minwoo Lee, who was in the mix there at the Players. He came 14th here on his debut last year. He's longer off the tee than you'd think. He's not a big guy, but he hits it far. So I think as last year would suggest, this might be a good course for Minwoo Lee.
There you go. I like some of those, especially the Corey Connors one.
Yeah,
I mean, he would have been a good pick if he didn't win last week. But asking him to win the week after the win the Masters the week after winning, it's just
bet him top 10. That's probably a good bet.
If you can get that, absolutely, definitely. Because matter of fact, top 5. Because if he follows his trend line, he's going to be in the top 5.
Right.
So Corey Connors. All right. So once again, you're one and done. What is it down to?
I'm going to use Fee now for sure in one of my two.
Okay.
And then I'm looking at like Xander. Yeah, you got me thinking about Justin Thomas. I'm not betting him. I might use him in one and done because I don't think he'll be very popular.
I agree with that. I could see him being forgotten.
But yeah, Finau for sure I'm using.
And so your other list is anybody?
Still.
So it could be Matsuyama.
Waffling, still waffling. I don't think I'll use Matsuyama.
You talk about somebody that's not going to be used.
Yeah, that's true. I think the farthest down the board I might go for one and done is actually Sungjae.
We talked about that's a guy that won't be used.
Yeah. So I'm going to try to go someone low owned this week. I think too many people are going to use the elite players just because it's the Masters. But you look at the prize pool. It's not. It's the 11th highest prize pool on the season. So I don't think you definitely don't need to use one of the top 3 or 5 players in the world.
Yeah, that's why I think Day's even a good pick because
Day's a great pick. I don't know how popular he'll be. Probably he won't be super popular.
I think Spieth's going to be really popular.
I was just going to say I think Spieth's going to be the most popular pick.
So. By the way, just closing out some of these round by round trends. The last ones we're going to talk about are the final rounds. The last 33 winners since 1990 began the final round in the top 5. How crazy. The reason this is so crazy for me is because everybody talks about like Saturday is moving day at Augusta, the Roars, the Eagles, and all this kind of movement. But this is not a movement golf course as far as the leaderboard. Now I'm talking about the final round, but the same thing, in the third round.
I wish you didn't tell me that, Trem, because that makes like the Sunday viewing experience less exciting, just knowing it's going to be one of those top 5 guys.
Well, that's part of the reason why I was thinking maybe, one of these weeks we'll do a live Friday live betting report. This ain't the event to do it.
Yeah.
Because we're giving you all the stuff now that if you're not in the top 5, I don't know what to tell you.
I'll tell you what we'll do for the PGA Championship when it's at Oak Hill. I'm going to be there Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Oh, awesome.
We should do a show. We should do a show on Friday night after I get back.
Absolutely. How far is that from you?
15 minutes.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. When is it?
It's middle of May.
Oh, okay.
It's the next one.
Now, yeah. Okay.
Yep.
28 of the last 33 winners began the final round with the final pairing. 20 of those began the final round with the lead, including 5 of the last 6. And Art Wall, back in 1959, is the only player to win the Masters, starting the final round outside the top 10. So it has happened. He was 6 shots back at that point. And speaking of shots back, Jack Burke Jr. in 1956 holds the record. 8 shots back. He was in 4th place at the time, top 5. He was in 4th place at the time, but 8 shots back. That's the record for the final round comeback at the Masters. So,
hey, there was almost a big final round comeback at the women's amateur at Augusta last weekend.
Oh, yeah?
I don't know if you caught any of that. Yeah.
No. Well, that's exciting. Unfortunately, it was almost.
That Rose Zhang had like a 6 or 7 shot lead and ended up winning in a playoff.
Oh, wow. She almost choked it off, huh?
Yep.
Nick Faldo. Everybody remembers the choke job by Greg Norman. Faldo's done it twice. Faldo's been, I think he was behind by 6 and 5, maybe. Two of his green jackets he won, and he was pretty far back for Masters comebacks. That's impressive. But that's Nick Faldo. All right. So anyway, bottom line is, don't spend your money on long shots on Sunday. Ain't gonna happen.
Or at all, honestly. Again, like we talked about long shots, you can throw a few bucks on them, but I'm not spending too much money on the guys above 60 to 1 this week.
I'm telling you, it's not the event, at all. Like you said, it ain't the event. Now maybe if you're like 9th, 10th after the first round, maybe.
Sure.
But
I do think if the weather is as crappy as it looks, that opens it up a little bit. Where you might get a
maybe
bigger surprise winner.
especially
But
if the
I still wouldn't go past like Lowry Rose, that territory at like
yeah
60 to 1. I
oh
think
yeah
that's kind of as far as you want to go down the board.
well especially I mean look and look the weather could impact. You never know, even though they're saying it's not. They're not saying morning or not, it's steady, but you never know. Sometimes you might get like one of these days, especially if it's Saturday. Maybe it rains more early, or especially what if it rains in the afternoon, heavier with a little bit heavier winds, and that's when the leaders come out.
Hmm.
So, I guess if there's an opportunity for some
Yeah.
different scoring changing Saturday, the old, the better
Yeah.
tee,
Uh,
tee placements
yeah.
and things of that nature. If the weather comes in, and maybe we will have a little bit different story on Saturday.
And if you haven't placed your bets yet, I think at this point I'd wait till Wednesday night to get a really good look at the forecast. Maybe even there's a tea time advantage, and
Maybe
just make your bets on
tee
Wednesday
time's
night.
out tomorrow, right?
Yes, should be. Yep.
Usually like around noontime or something like that. So yeah,
Yep.
good idea. Might as well take advantage. Wait until the latest possible minute to place your bets. Check the weather. Watch this show and subscribe. That's what you have to do because you don't want to ever miss one of our shows because the Masters isn't it. After the Masters, we're going to talk what? RBC Heritage.
Which is an elevated event, which is crazy. So
The RBC Heritage.
I guess all these guys are going to be playing again next week.
Wow.
Most of them. Yeah.
That could be.
I like
That
it.
could be. Oh, that's right. You're right. That's interesting, because you only used to get like about 5 guys.
That's usually a bad field,
Yeah.
but I like that course a lot. It's very unique. So it'll be fun to see a good field there.
Yeah, that's the one that I was thinking about saving Shane Lowry for.
Yes, he's played very
But then
well there.
again, if a lot of other players are going to show up, but the fact is, it's so different because it's so tight compared to Augusta that a lot of these
Exactly.
Justin Thomas, But then again, Jordan Spieth won last year, and he ain't the straightest, narrowest,
Right.
ball striker.
Well, it's a short course. Not to get too much into heritage, but it's a short course, so a lot of guys are just hitting irons off tee. So
Yeah.
you don't. Yeah, it's a good course for Morikawa. I'll say that. If you're thinking about one and done next week, I think it's a good spot for Colin.
That's the importance of one and done. Not that I've had. I mean, I can't wait next year when I do what I have to do. What you do, I have to get 2 picks. The one pick thing's killing me.
Yeah. One of my team, the one I had, Scheffler at the Players. I also hit Chris Kirk on that team. That team's doing well.
Good. That's the important thing is you're hitting the right teams. Absolutely.
Right.
You don't want to be splitting them up. That wouldn't be any good.
Exactly.
All right, man. We'll talk again next Monday for the RBC Heritage. We'll wrap up the Masters. Hopefully it's going to be exciting because last year was a dud with Scott Scheffler just, putting us to sleep all weekend. So hopefully, even though I won with him, but still, let's hope it's a lot more exciting than that. And Jared, we'll talk to you next time.
All right. Thanks, Greg. Enjoy the Masters.
Oh, we should. Hopefully we'll. Financially, it'd be nice, though, wouldn't it? Who'd you put the most money on this week?
As of now, I have the most money on Xander.
Okay.
But yeah, I might still add
All right.
here and there.
Well, good luck. Talk to you next week.